We're live, Jackie. The dog days are over.
The dog days are over. I can't sing.
I can't sing either. Um, so those who are viewing, which is nobody, this is Never Normal, episode 12.
Never normal, never so 12. Wait, why? Who did you just sound like?
Who did I just sound like? I don't know. Oh, I have to edit our banner because I almost, or is it episode 13?
That's 12, I think.
I think it's 12.
I think I posted it. I never know. Here we are. We're together. How are you? Tell me everything. We have a new life. It's very exciting.
We do have a new life. I finally feel like I'm not emotionally hostage to my own country. Although I am emotionally hostage to my work schedule, which is why I look like this. I actually had an audition earlier, but it was for an athletic commercial, so that really helps because it's like I just had to have my hair in a ponytail, and so I didn't have to actually get dressed. My favorite audition I ever had was for Orange is the New Black, where they were like, we want you to look like you're in prison, like you haven't showered for 6 days. And I was like, this is great. It was like the only audition where I literally didn't have to clean myself. I'm like, perfect.
Well, yeah. We want you to look like you smell, and if you can smell.
Yeah, we want to make you like no makeup, like as if you have breakouts or acne, accentuate them. Like they literally were like blemishes, make sure they stick out. And I was like, oh.
Did you, was it in person?
Yes, this was years ago. Yeah.
Wow,
This
fun.
was when society was open. Remember when that was a thing?
I don't remember that. What was it like?
Remember when we used to say things like, excuse me, can I just squeeze by you?
Remember that?
Remember
Wow, that's
that?
nice. That doesn't exist anymore.
But remember when we also didn't give certain compliments? Like, wow, I really love your face mask. Remember when that was a compliment never given ever?
Yeah. Remember when you were like, oh, I saw my ex. I wish I had a better looking face mask on.
Yeah. That's how we're all going to talk next.
Why didn't I have my sexy face mask on?
Sexy face. I do find it amazing though when I get hit on, like when I'm at my Starbucks, because I have a hat on and an apron and a face mask and a shield, and I'm like, really?
It's because your personality comes through, your energy.
Oh, I'm like, there's nothing. How could you? And I understand that I'm thin, but I'm also like in a Starbucks uniform that's like not flattering with a big apron on. So like, I don't really understand what they're looking at.
I think they could tell you're spunky.
I did have a customer tell me the other day that they appreciated my spirit. And I was like, that is the greatest compliment ever. Because I actually messed up the drink. That's what was sort of amazing about it. I messed up the drink.
I appreciate your spirit too.
Thank you. But I just, I made it right, but I made it right with laughter. And I forget, like, that's important. Like, people will forgive you if you make mistakes. It's just how you recalibrate when you make the mistake.
Absolutely. I almost ran a guy over with my car, and he got really
way
pissed.
Worse than fucking up a latte.
He was really pissed. He was pissed. He was just like, motherfucker, And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I am the worst driver. I'm like, you could tell your friends you met her. Tell your friends you met the worst driver. And he started laughing.
That's good. That's such a great way to handle it. So here, you want to hear something funny? I feel like I want to make this more of the Jackie show today. And do you want to know why? Because I have come to terms with the fact that 9 different people in my life have given me the nickname of Constant Monologue. Many of them are in my family. And I've been like going back and looking over some of the Never Normals to like pluck out our gold. And I'm like, I do not shut my pie hole. And I need to talk less. So tell me what's happening here. Enough about me. What do you think about me?
I know. Well, I think Renee, I asked Renee to see some shots of hers because I was having stress doing mine. And Renee has the best figure. I was so angry.
Headshots, guys, not shots of alcohol, not shots of
photo shots. I was like, did she put her head on someone else's body? I knew you had a good body, but not like that. You're just like a sports body.
Oh, thanks.
You're
I
killing
mean, those
it.
are a couple of years ago. COVID has the definition in my abs is it's like my six pack's a little bit kind of like in the back of the fridge right now
Yeah,
because
you
of
still
COVID.
have one though.
I still have a six pack. It's just in the back of the fridge.
That six pack was amazing. Congratulations. I've never had one. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I've never had one. I do I never felt like I had one, but like I look back at pictures and I was like, I was so thin. I don't know what I was talking about. But I've never had a
Isn't it
six
amazing how we're so self-critical of abs?
pack.
That
It's
was
the
only a couple of years
worst.
ago. And a couple of years ago when I took those photos, I was like, I don't look that great. I'm not as cut as the other people. And like now I look back and even though I'm not that far off track from that, but look, I have not been as active. Plus my spinal injury. I mean, I was training for Ironman triathlons when I took those shots. And so like I've not been able to work out as intensively as when I was training. Um, so yes, my body looks more womanly and less ripped, but I kind of want to get back there. It's all about
Wow.
just being our best self because I must say, like, I don't feel like being a woman that's attracted to other women. I don't feel like the women I'm with need to be cut. It's just I feel like we all have our own body type, so it's just being the best, healthiest version of us. Like in fact, I don't date women that look like me. It's interesting. Like, I don't like to look like I'm dating my sister. So aesthetically, like, I don't date Latino women because it just creeps me out. I feel like I'm dating a sibling. Like, it's not, but I'm not like racist against Latinos because I'm a Latina. You know what I mean?
That's funny. I'm
Yeah.
like, my taste in it changes all the time. Like I never even know. And my ex-wife and I, who I'm going to see her Friday, I can't wait. She's coming in from New York with her wife, but I get to spend time with her. I'm excited. But she and I, like, she looked exactly like Ellen lookalike, but prettier and a hell of a lot nicer. Like the best person in the world. And then now her new wife looks like her, and the last girl I dated looked like me. It was weird. Like
That's so
we
funny.
all started doing it ourselves.
I kind of have a type, but I don't know. I mean, like, I don't have a racial type, but I'm into more like feminine women. It's sort of just more my style. I kind of have to be the princess in the relationship. Even though I consider myself a chapstick lesbian, like, I don't really wear dresses, but I definitely love to put on makeup and like do my hair and be pretty. So, like, I kind of have to be girly, but not super. I don't have roles like that. It's not
Yeah.
really about roles. It's just naturally what I like gravitate toward. But I do like pretty feminine women for the most part, but I've dated butch women and really enjoyed it too. So I don't know. It's just
Yeah. That's cool that we're the same way like that too. How much more do we have to have in common?
but you know what I do think is really interesting as I just entered my 40s? Like I've always dated much older women. And my girlfriend, when I was 22, when I first moved to LA, she was 41 and I was 22. And what I've noticed is that all the women I date are just still in their 40s, except I've gotten older, so now it's appropriate. Like they're still 40, but now that I'm 40, like I'm dating women my own age, but I'm like, I've always, like my girlfriend's always been 40. Always.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I dated people like 5 years older than me. Like my ex-wife was 5 years older than me, and everybody's always been like 5 years older than me. And then when I got divorced, I started dating people a lot younger than me.
What I realized, oh, go.
But now, like it's interesting. The older you get, if you date someone older than you, they're older.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem is that, like, now, not to be insulting, but I can't really date somebody 20 years older than me because they're in their 60s.
They're
Like, I don't know that I
dead.
want to date,
Yeah.
like, that's, I mean, plus, obviously, like, when I think about possibly having a baby, now I'm at the other point where I'm like, I got to start dating women who are younger than me because, like, my eggs may be expired. So now I can't do older anymore. I need to
You
get
want
me
to
a
have a
young, hot
child?
thing. What is it?
You want to have a child? Do you think?
I think so. I don't know. It's just morphed for me. I don't want to physically give birth, but there are times when I think, do I want to miss the opportunity to parent in this lifetime? I don't know. Like I go back and forth a lot, but like, I don't know. Something shifted for me in my late 30s, early 40s, where I'm just like, am I going to miss that in this lifetime? Like, I don't know that I want to. It doesn't mean that I have to have it. It doesn't mean that I can't adopt. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't be willing to be a step parent and meet somebody that already had kids.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many ways in which I could experience the role of parenting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been a nanny for 22 years, and I am sort of sick of raising other people's children. And I think for a very, very long time, I was anti having a kid because I was raising other people's children, and I felt like I needed to break from all of that.
But you really don't like the parents. It's not the kids.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I wouldn't mind fostering a child.
The only challenge with that is I am a foster kid, and I think emotionally for everybody it's hard because when the biological parents, because it's not an adoption situation, like the objective really is for that biological parent, for whatever reason, to go get healthy, get their ducks in a row, whether it's financial or they have a drug problem or whatever. So you get really, really attached to the kid, and then you have to give them back. And I think it's confusing for the child. It's confusing for the parent. It's confusing for the other siblings. I think it can create a lot of emotional trauma on the other side of it. Not that it's not a great thing to do, but as a foster kid myself, I have so many like weird open wounds and traumas that I can't even wrap my brain around from that whole process, that I don't know that I would want to participate on the other side. It's just something I'd have to marinate on.
I've always felt kind of drawn to it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you have an instinct to do it, I think there's also being an acceptance of what the role is as a foster parent versus an actual adoptive parent. And I think that would be the other thing. Like, if you overstep that boundary as a foster parent, or understep that boundary too, because that really was my experience, where like I had foster parents that just wanted to make the extra $500 a week and like didn't give a shit about any of us. And they filled the house with as many girls as they possibly could because they got $500 a head. So like I was in a bedroom with like 5 different other girls, and like they were all crazy. In this like one house I lived in, this girl was like 12 and pregnant, would like smoke cigarettes on her bunk. Like, it was crazy, girl.
I'm sorry. That's a lot.
It was a lot. I wrote a screenplay about it called In the Absence of You.
Beautiful.
It's called In the Absence of You, means in the absence of my mother. This was my experience.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. I feel like I love how we just like dive into it. I was doing some inner child work, and one of the questions was like, who growing up like was like that you could trust them. And I was just like, oh, nobody. Like nobody, not a teacher, not any of the religious people. I went to Catholic school. Nobody, not my parents, like nobody. And so it just made me be like, I want to be that to somebody. I don't necessarily need a parent, but I would love to just be like somebody like that. A child could be like, that woman, I liked her energy. Like like I could trust her,
That's amazing, because I've definitely experienced in my life the importance of relationships, whether they're permanent or not, no matter what kind of relationship that is, whether it's a romantic partner or a foster parent. I think sometimes we get stuck, we as like a society, the proverbial we, get stuck in that framework that a relationship is not worth investing in unless we know it's permanent. And it's like,
yeah, and I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that
I don't either.
My relationship with my ex-wife is, we were together for 12 years and now we're best friends. And no, you can't say I didn't have a successful marriage. I feel like it's more successful than anybody's. Like, we still love each other a lot. And I feel like there's just different seasons for different things.
I agree. And I think sometimes we can have different soulmates in our lifetime. Like my ex from many, many years ago, which really was the person that I felt like I betrayed her a lot with my active addiction, just by her not knowing my level of using and stuff like that. Like, I never betrayed her by like cheating on her, but I didn't realize like the work I've done in my step work, that was a level of betrayal, because she didn't feel like I was being honest with her. And, we don't really even speak. Like occasionally I like her Facebook posts, and she just recently had twins with her wife, and it's like, but I
Um,
genuinely, when I see her post, there's genuine joy and appreciation. And in a weird way, I feel like she was my soulmate, but not in a creepy way. In a, like, she was the person that got me to self-reflect and realize that I had a drug problem, and I
mm,
changed my whole life in that relationship. So when I think of somebody that changed my soul, that got me to like look at myself in a way that I had never looked at myself in my entire life, like, I still consider her sort of a soulmate in that way, but it's hard to articulate to people because it, not in a like creepy she should be with me way. That's not what I
right.
mean by that. Like,
Yeah. She loved you until you loved yourself, and then you got sober.
and I feel like we were able to release each other, and sure there was messiness way back then, but it's, I know when I can look at a person or their lives or whatever they're living now, and genuinely feel like that was our objective. We just wanted the other person to be happy, and sometimes you have to release a person in their life for them to go be their happiest self. And I
Yeah.
feel like we both accomplished that. So it's like whenever I see her kind of pop up in my feed or whatever, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad for her, and I'm glad she has a beautiful wife and two children, and like, you know what I'm saying? It's, there's none of
Yeah.
that like residual unhealed stuff, and because of it, it's easy for me to celebrate that relationship and still be able to reflect like that whenever we're with somebody, like that time always belongs to those two individuals. Whether other people come in, like that 12 years will always belong to you and your wife, no matter
Right.
what else happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think
Right.
that that's sacred.
That's how I feel too. And I've read that there's no such thing as time. It's an illusion. So it's like, why not have different experiences if there's always that time, just like you said, to go back to you in some way, because it's always there.
Totally. And even my like last relationship, where I moved to the East Coast and experienced New York City, and it also was like the conduit to me being able to watch my niece who's 5 be like born, and I had like a day-to-day relationship with her because I was with my family every day, and just that experience of learning that city, and then also her as a human being. Like, I did a lot of self-reflection. She was a criminal defense attorney. I didn't realize how much ignorance I had around our criminal justice system and how uneducated I was, and like, she was the first person I was with where I really really respected and honored her profession. And like, still to this day, when I have a dialogue around the criminal justice system, I feel like I'm well informed, and I've been able to impart wisdom on people just by sharing my experience, not because I'm being professorial, you know what I mean? And like,
Right.
I learned that by being with her because I didn't really understand. We talk about things like systemic racism, but I think there's also this systemic problem in our criminal justice system where we say innocent until proven guilty, but psychologically, we believe guilty until proven innocent. You know what
Right.
I mean? And our system is wired in a wonky way that sort of defaults to that in our media and everything. You know what I mean? We look for the guilt in people, not the innocence in our
Right.
system. And it's tough. Like, she really changed how I looked at that, and I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for that. So I could never regret that relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I never would have proactively like done research on like what's broken about the criminal justice system. Maybe I
Right.
should have, but I didn't. It wasn't until somebody like that was in my life where I was like, oh wow, we should look at this.
Yeah. Did you see Michael Moore's Who Are We Gonna Invade Next?
No, but I every time I watch Michael Moore, I love it, and I'm changed.
It's so good. I don't know why it's not everywhere. I feel like someone's hiding it. But somebody showed it to me.
What's it called? I want to write it down.
Yeah, it's so good. Who are we gonna invade next? But they have it, he goes to all different countries and shows how people are doing things better than us, and is like that he wants to adapt that for us. And one of them is the criminal system. Where was it? I believe Norway had they're like, I was like, I want to be in their jails. And the guards don't even have guns, and they have like cute little houses. They ride their bikes around. I don't understand. Like, I'm still like, okay, like we can't have that. We can't also just have that here. Like, there's got to be like something different. But the respect that they give their prisoners has them be more reformed. And like they were juxtaposing how they live to like what goes on at ours, and it was just like horrific, the stuff that goes on in our jails. And then they what was I going to say? Oh, the guy who ran the prison even quoted like our cruel and unusual punishment. He said like we do not administer cruel and unusual punishment, and that's like from us. But yet they would flash over to like the cruel and unusual punishment that that our system does.
Right. Because it's like, it's about, it is about the system and about kindness, and it's keeping our side of the street clean. It's not about what that other person did, you know. Like, one of experiences that really changed me forever, and I don't want to give too many details to, you know, keep the you know, privacy of the actual story, but I remember like learning from my ex, like, these cops had basically found a buttload of heroin, but didn't get a warrant, and so basically all of the heroin got thrown out in court, and like, you know, people would say, well, that's horrible, here's this criminal with a buttload of heroin that's now not going to prison. But the whole point of her objective and her oral argument was, you cannot enforce the law by breaking the law. So if you don't get a warrant, then doesn't that suck? Because now this person gets away with a buttload of heroin. So the message is not about the buttload of heroin. It's that we cannot have a system where we let cops break the law by enforcing the law by breaking the law.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. Like, you have to enforce the law by adhering to the law. You know what I mean? And like, it works for everybody. So it's like, it's the bigger picture. It's not that somebody wants you to get away with a butt ton of heroin. That's not what it's about. But like,
I like the butt ton.
The buttload, I know. I'm trying to make it as general as I can, you know, without giving too many details about the story. But like,
yeah,
you see my point in that, where it's like some people they focus on the fact that, oh, drugs are on our street, and not focused on the root of the problem, where it's like, the system has to be different. Like, we can't keep making it okay. Like, there are larger problems. We see how broken our system is because we allow cops to break the law, to enforce the law.
Right. And in one of the countries, all drugs are legal, and there's they saw their addiction to drugs go way down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I don't really understand, but it seems
because some of it's a defiance. Like, I think from my personal experience in my active addiction, one of the reasons I used harder drugs like cocaine and speedballing and all of that stuff is because I couldn't buy it at a liquor store down the street. And there was something enticing and exciting about that, but it's something that also locked me in, because when I didn't know who I was and I was looking to create drama and I didn't know how to handle my pain, the bigger and bolder the drug was, the more enticing it was for me. And so I got lost deeper and deeper and deeper into my addiction. And I'm not saying that you can't get just as addicted to alcohol, but there is something to be said about the social acceptability of certain drugs that sort of removes that like stigma. And I think when if you're an addict, you're an addict. That's why I identify as an addict, because I'm like, I am an alcoholic. I'm an everything addict. It just, addict seems very inclusive to me because I'm a freaking addict, you know. But yeah,
the one thing I say, addicted to drugs. Damn, I had something there. Oh, so but how you said defiance. My sponsor said that the one thing that all the characteristic that all addicts and alcoholics have is defiance. And that's the one thing that we all have in common. And I get that because as a kid, the more I got away with, the more I had to get away with. Like, it was always more and more, what am I going to get away with? And then as I get older, I'm like, what am I getting away with? Like, I'm not getting away with.
But when it's an illegal drug, there's that element, right? You're getting away with something that you're not supposed to have. Whereas even though you can get just as addicted to alcohol, there's not that stigma of, I have something I'm not supposed to have possession of.
Yeah.
And
getting sober is changing that defiance to, I don't need to be defying anything. And what I do defy, to harness it all in defining fear. No more defying fear, I mean.
Yeah, I think the most rebellious thing I ever did was get sober.
Same, getting sober. Yeah, like people are like, Jackie's sober, and like people that should have been sober.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
the
get the
one
same thing.
sober.
Or when I love when I like behave badly and I'm like, they're like, are you okay? Or if I'm at like a social event, and not that it's happened that much in 2020, there are
Yeah.
times where people just can't believe that I am not altered. They're like, when did you have your last drink, Renee? And I'm like, 2009.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah, it's
don't
so
know what to
funny.
tell. I'm completely sober. I got kicked out of a bar in Cabo San Lucas with my sisters with years clean. I think I had 3 years clean.
That's really funny.
It was just bad behavior. And there was a part of me that's like, should I say that I'm drunk because it'll be less embarrassing?
Right. I like to pretend I'm drunk, especially if I'm somewhere where there's an open bar. I like to just like go crazy that I'm drunk and like dance, like do handstands on the dance floor and scream open bar.
So good. So
Because
good.
when other people are drunk, it's fun to pretend you're drunk. Because otherwise, it's behavior. Because it's how I act all the time. It's how we both act all the time. We both are live wires. So, but other people are like, so when they're drinking, it's fun to just like it through osmosis. I go crazy too
I
if
do too, for
if I'm
sure.
around people drinking. But so I'm like I didn't never needed alcohol this whole time. I didn't know.
It's amazing. I know. And I feel so much more free. Like, even if I have a late night or whatever, when I wake up in the morning and I'm not hungover, I'm just like, I've never once in my sobriety ever woken up the next day and thought to myself, man, I really wish I drank last night. Have you ever had that thought ever? Like, it
Heaven.
doesn't happen. Like, you never regret it the next day.
It's heaven.
One
Yeah,
of my favorite quotes that I heard somebody say at a convention was, I would rather be sober thinking about getting high than be high thinking about getting sober.
oh my God. Hallelujah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, and it's really been lifted for me. It's kind of annoying, not for me, but for other people.
Yeah,
Because they
I feel the same way.
because
Although,
yeah.
not to sound controversial, I'm just saying this from one alcoholic to another alcoholic. I think we still, and I'm not saying that you're not doing this, but relapse is a part of my story. And I had 4 years clean when I relapsed, and I had no desire to use. I was sponsoring people. I had commitments at meetings. It was like, this is when they say that our disease is cunning and manipulative. Like, sometimes it sneaks in when we're in the best parts of our life. It was nothing that I thought would even occur to me. And I felt like I got bitch slapped by my disease. It came out of nowhere.
Oh,
And it
see,
was this
that's what I'm
weird,
scared of.
it's this weird, that's why it's like we got to keep our front row of people and keep ourselves in the center of our program. And like, that is the mistake that I made, is that was my proclamation, is like, oh, the desire's lifted for me, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. And I started to dip a little bit in my devotion to my recovery every day. It started to like slip down my to-do list, and I didn't even realize that relapse
Yeah.
was a process. Like, I thought relapse was an event, and when I look back at my relapse, I realized it was a process of
Wow.
like pushing my recovery not to the forefront of my experience. And like, so yeah, I mean, I honestly was just as shocked when I relapsed as everybody else around me. And it's very hard to explain, because I was working a great program. I had 2 commitments at a meeting. I had a sponsee. We had just finished the steps. Like, things were good. And it was like I'd stumbled upon an Adderall while like cleaning a house. And then I had gotten this conversation with, I don't want to say who, but somebody in my life that kind of was like worried that I was like maybe just too over dramatic about this whole thing. And they're like, yeah, but it's been like 4 years, and like maybe you just needed to take a break for a little while and you're good. And like, I started negotiating with the disease, because like there are areas in my life where I work on being too dramatic. And I'm like, is that a possibility where like, what if I have just been being over dramatic and I'm actually okay? And like, I didn't realize that I was negotiating with my disease in that moment. So it wasn't like my life was falling apart and I relapsed because I couldn't take it anymore, or even I relapsed from a space of like, I'm so excited and I want to celebrate. Like, I relapsed from this weird distorted curiosity. Like, maybe I am just being like my dramatic Renee self. And I tested the waters again, and as soon as I put something in my body, like, that question went away. and it was too late and I had lost my time. But I knew for sure my thinking went back to the same thing. And it's like, I had to remember that this disease is progressive. And even though I wasn't pushing a shopping cart down the street, like, it was possible for me to get there. And like my sponsor said to me, just because you get on the elevator doesn't mean you have to get off at the bottom floor. And because
Yeah.
I didn't get off at the bottom floor, I think sometimes that's a tougher place for addicts and alcoholics that haven't like dug this hole, because like I didn't lose everything. I didn't have my family intervene. I still had a job. Like there's, you know, when you get to that place and you're completely broken and shattered, like there's no other way to look than up. But when I could have potentially dug a hole for another decade before my whole world fell apart, but I would have had nothing. But after a decade, I'd probably be in prison or dead. You know what I mean? It was just, I was at the point where it was ugly and it was not going well and people were starting to identify it in me, but like I probably had a few more years in me if I wanted to, and that's fucked up.
Yeah. Did you drink or was it pills that you?
I mean, I did everything.
You
That
did?
was part of my my denial. I
I
did
didn't know if
everything.
you relapsed, you did everything.
Oh, no, my relapse was just Adderall.
Okay, yeah.
I have not had a drink in 11 years, since 2000, August 14th,
Wow.
2009 was the last time I even tasted alcohol. So it's been over a decade, but I changed my sobriety date because I took Adderall, you know,
Right.
and like cleaned a house, and then like I was loaded. That's the truth. And like I didn't need it. It wasn't prescribed to me. Like my intention wasn't good. And like my program taught me that one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And when I didn't tell anybody for 11 days when I relapsed, like I just kept it a secret, and I like all of that thinking was back, Jackie. And it's like, had I not gotten honest, like I probably would have had a needle in my arm in like a week. Because I had so much
Wow.
shame and I had lost all my time. And I was like, well, I've never shot heroin. Like maybe this is my window since I just lost all my time. And like that voice started to get weirdly loud. And I knew I had to get honest about the alcohol because
Yeah.
I was going to dig myself a hole I couldn't get out of, you know?
Yeah.
I actually do have to wrap it up because I was supposed to be somewhere at 5:30 and it's 5:30.
All right. I love you so much.
I love you too. You're
We're
amazing.
sober and we have an awesome president.
Yay, we do! Sober and awesome president,
Kamala,
even though it doesn't look
Kamala.
like I showered.
More Kamala.
More come. Did you see that meme? Last thing. That meme that said, for those Republicans that don't know how to pronounce Kamala, it's pronounced vice president.
Yeah, I love that.
I love
Yeah.
it. It's not my meme, but I had to repost it.
So good.
All right, you.
Really
Talk
good.
to you soon. Love you.
Bye. Love you too. Bye.